Walking into the sonic gray pearl Honda Pilot TrailSport, two things immediately jump in the direction. The first is that black accents and matching 18-inch alloys do a convincing job of making this newly released model very similar to the top-tier black edition. In fact, aside from the size and style of those rims and the absence of a badge on the grille, the two could be twins. The second is that this TrailSport Honda's adventure-ready trim line lacks a recovery latch. In fact, there's no removable hatch in the front bumper which can be removed to accept the tow latch that was lost along with that hole when the third-generation Pilot on which it debuted in 2016. And except for adding an optional tow package, there's nothing in the back. Digging a little deeper, I peeked underneath. No bolted skid plates either. Confused, wandered around to the rear liftgate to make sure it had the right vehicle keys. Sure enough, there's an orange badge affixed to it letting it know that this is indeed the TrailSport edition of the Pilot, but with no off-road prerequisites in sight. What does that mean? Seeker, adventurer, explorer. Regardless of which hashtags you find most suitable, the active lifestyle enthusiast has become one of the hottest commodities in consumer shopping. And automakers are quick to act. Subaru recently introduced the Wilderness line, Toyota has expanded the TRD Pro to other models. Jeep has the trail-rated Trailhawks and now Honda has the TrailSport. Unfortunately, unlike the examples from the competition mentioned above, Honda's TrailSport line really only adds a bit of ground clearance and a few aesthetic changes to the mix. The Pilot who rode was 15 mm taller than his comrades, but the lift itself didn't do much for the extra merit badge. Approach and departure angles have not changed substantially 19.6, 20.8 versus 19.7, 21.8 and the lack of a restore point or underbody protection will cause a pause before exploring something more aggressive than a broken or damaged cabin or fire path. However, if that's all it wants to do, the Pilot apart from the trim package remains a comfortable and spacious way to achieve that. The interior, admittedly a bit dated, ticks all the necessary boxes. The heated and powered captain's seat at the front is well supported and supportive. Wrapped in black leather, the orange TrailSport logo is emblazoned on the headrests and matching orange accent stitching is used across all three rows. There's a huge amount of storage space between the two front seats and the wireless charging station sits under the center stack. The 7-inch TFT display is neatly integrated into the dashboard and it's nice to report that the media and HVAC controls are made up of buttons and knobs. There's Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, though both are only available over a wired connection. There are 4 USB ports in total but the TrailSport surprisingly ignores a 115-volt outlet, so might want to use an inverter if the type that plugs in when unplugged. There are 3 available 12-volt power outlets. Even adult-sized passengers have enough room to enjoy the ride regardless of which row ends, and exit to the back of the bus is quite easy. If there's no need to use that third row, the Pilot TrailSport offers nearly 1,600 liters of the same cargo capacity for all pilots, which should be more than enough for most campers or glampers. From the rear, wheel visibility is good, and the TrailSport includes a rear-view camera in the passenger side mirror that activates when the right signal clicks. Oddly, one is not mounted to the driver's side and the TrailSport doesn't include active blind spot monitoring. Powered by a 280 horsepower, 3.5-liter V6, this Pilot moves really fast. While there is no turbo, the torque curve starts low and develops linearly. Mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission, power is distributed through Honda's all-wheel drive IVTM4 intelligent variable torque management system. There are several switchable drive modes: normal, snow, mud, and sand that adjust throttle response and power distribution to optimize performance in certain settings, but don't look for locking differences or releasing sway bars. Mostly experimented with snow mode as it was the level of challenging terrain I experienced, but the white stuff wasn't deep enough to warrant a transition. Did find the transmission a bit stodgy in the process of selecting the gears, hunting and pecking for an extra second here and there. Regardless, confident and cruising overall acceleration at highway speeds spins the bike at just 1,500 revolutions per minute. There's a sport mode that can be called upon to hold the lap a little longer before shifting, but I found simply disabling the eco mode made quite a difference for today's driving day. The ride quality with the longer travel suspension feels pretty much the same as the other Pilots, which isn't a bad thing at all. What's less impressive, at least in experience, are some of the decisions made regarding user touch points. The gear selector is a collection of 4 separate buttons. In weeks with Pilot TrailSport it hasn't been intuitive or fun to use. Even worse, switching between reverse and driving requires looking at the button you want to touch, rather than simply moving the physical shifter with your eyes on the road. A tried-and-true shifter will eat up as much real estate as possible and provide a better user experience. More confusingly, the parking brake continues to be a manually operated pedal assembly. While I'm certainly not against a bit of old-school flair like this, it comes at the expense of a comfortable dead pedal. Didn't boast wide feet, but still found the perch wasn't wide enough to allow an old left-hander to sit up straight. With a newly redesigned 4th-generation Honda Pilot rumored to launch in the 2023 model year, the current aging edition is not without its flaws. But even so, never once felt like he was missing something important. Where it feels Honda missed the mark was its failure to complete the substantial off-road upgrades that coincided with the TrailSport branding, especially given what the competition has done and the fact that the modified Pilot scored a top 5 finish at the Rebelle Rally a few years ago. When seated, it's really just an aesthetic package. Whether it will affect the purchase dollar depends entirely on how far and the family hope to explore, adventure, or explore. Has built an empire by making urbanites look as if they're on their way to clinking glasses with, so guess there's nothing wrong with just looking the part, even if just heading to the new, remote office.